Exciting win over Kansas, and you look at that game, and just defensively, when you pitch a shutout and it's a conference game, it's really big. And defensively, we went out and had many opportunities. We stopped them 3 times on 4th down. And then offensively, it's all about consistency. You look at the first half, and I told them we left 17 points on the field, drove the ball down there the one time, and then we fumbled on a quarterback center exchange. But just offensively, we just had to continue to get better, and we just got to find a way to run the football. We know this. We know that it's going to have to come down to sometimes setting the run up by throwing the football, and that's what we're going to do. If that's the way we're going to run the ball. But it's all about just developing that consistency on the offense. And then you see the special teams getting the return yardage and watching Shipley get open. And, we had the 2 penalties there on the 1 big return, but just to see the positive yard and get the field flip for our offense. And we know this is a big test this week. Really unbelievable football team. And I look at Baylor, and this is the number 6 ranked team in the country, number 1 in offense, scoring offense, and total offense, and they just generate points. It's almost like watching a video game. You watch a play, there's a touchdown there, then the next time they come back up, hand the ball off, then they go score another touchdown. The quarterback's an unbelievable player, Heisman candidate, and Coach Browse has done an unbelievable job with that program. So it's going to be a major test for us, and we're going to have to play well. We're going to have to play above our heads. We're going to have to play a step faster for us to go out and get it done.
Questions? Sean, go ahead.
Coach, you guys did some running into 8- and 9-man fronts pretty strongly. Is that building an attitude, or is that just who you are?
Well, it's just who we are. And you had to build that attitude, though, also, because, you talk about 8-man front, 8- and 9-man front. We're going to load the box, but teams also loading the box against us and not allowing us to run the ball. We know if we're going to stop the run, we got to load it up, too.
On your right, Dennis.
Coach, when you're talking about, establishing the run, have you ever had this young and inexperienced a line before? And what's a fair expectation for their growth going forward?
Well, you would like to think, Dennis, that each and every week they get better and better. And you're right, this is a young, inexperienced line. But also we can take pressure off of that line, because now just by throwing the football, you can open up the run game. Because now if you make people defend the pass and you make big plays in the passing game, and that's why I always talk to our wide receivers about, if you catch a 5-yard hitch or a 10-yard, any type of crossing route, let's try to turn it into a big play. Then we can get the backers to loosen up some, and then we can pull the pressure off of the run game. So now we can enable us to run the ball.
Back over here, Mike.
UCLA was kind of a slight favorite over you guys, but I think this is the first time in your career in a long time that you've coached a team that's an overwhelming underdog in a game. How does that feel for you, and what's your approach with the team on a week like this?
Well, they're really good. I don't know what's the spread. I don't know how big is it. Was a couple of, wow, there's something. But they deserve every bit of it. It is but if you watch a team, and it's just amazing just to see how that team has developed over the last 3 or 4 years. And just this season with the quarterback and just the threats you have at the wide receiver position, you look outside of Cannon. And then on defense, Hager does a great job in the middle of just directing that defense where you have good, strong leadership out of him. But they play so well. They play as a team. But that's just the build where he's built that team and he's built it together. And that's probably why we're set where we are. That's why they are where they are right now with the number 1 offense in the country.
Do you play the underdog part, though?
Well, I don't have no choice. I'm a 14-point underdog. Right? 14-point spread right now. So we're going to have to play really well. We would have to play really well to be in the ball game.
In the middle, Roger.
Coach, in your eyes, how does Baylor create so many explosive plays? Because they seem to get them in such chunks compared to other good offenses.
Well, what they do is they win in the outside lanes, Roger. So they have those wide receivers. So if you watch, they'll run a decide play. They may get 4 or 5 yards. They run another play. They may get 4 or 5. Then all of a sudden, they're sitting there and the safeties get over and just trying to run up, stop the run. Then there goes one up over their head. But the receivers are so fast he can lay the ball out there. And the quarterback, he is where once he get to where he needs to get to, 3-step, 5-step, where it is, he's letting the ball go. And they have not given up a sack all year because he's releasing the ball, getting it out of his hands.
Coach, it's a weekly question, but can you give us any update on Desmond Harrison and when he could be coming back?
I love that because you always love that question. That's always your favorite question. And then what? I love how you always pause with it. Like it's a weekly question. No, I'm just kidding with you, Alex. But there's no update. We're going to sit down and have a discussion with not only with Desmond, with DeJay this week also, and just see where we are.
In the middle, Brian.
Charlie, Sean's been saying, you guys know what we're working with. And my question is that do you think that he is getting the most out of what he is working with, or do you see it as, hey, this is not acceptable?
Well, it's what we have right now, and that's all we have. Because if you look at it, and I would still say that probably one of our biggest losses when we lost Espinosa in the middle. Because now you had a vet who's right there. It's the center position, which is a critical position. And I always talk about just being an anchor down the middle. You lose him, and then you lose your quarterback. So now you're coming up with a backup quarterback and Swoops, and then you have a backup center in Rollerson. And now you look outside, where we was hoping where we would have our strength. And right now, you're taking Perkins. You have to put him at tackle, which is, he's doing well, but that's not what he is. So it's what he has right now. He's getting the best out of it. And and that's why I say at the wide receiver positions where you like to win more. But the running backs, you just can't get it really going for them because you have two really good running backs. Because up front, you're not winning at the line of scrimmage.
To your left, Chuck.
Charlie, you've gone against up-tempo spread teams in the past and had success going back, I guess, to the 2008 championship game against Oklahoma when you were at Florida. And I was just wondering what makes Baylor different, or what makes them distinctive as that kind of up-tempo spread team, and what particular problems do they pose?
Well, it's similar to that Oklahoma team. You're just looking at, Oklahoma, you have Bradford, you have Petty at quarterback. They had Gresham, the tight end there, but then they had the outside receivers, which Baylor has right now. But what it is when you talk about up-tempo, they're on the ball so quickly, and they're running plays, and they're scoring so quick that even when you try to match, what's really happens a lot of times when you try to match score for score, you can't match score for score. So when your offense goes out there and you try to match them, and then you're off the field in a minute or 2 minutes, then all of a sudden here they come back out and they don't need to rest. Now they're back on the field and they're just the boom, run here, then big chunk, and it's chunk yardage that is really a problem for the defenses. And now we're going to give up some plays, but we have to line back up and get ready to go play again. So where one chunk can't lead to another chunk down, boom, it's a touchdown. It's a 40-yard pass, and then there goes a 20 touchdown. Then you come back next series and same thing happens again. We just have to line up, and we're going to have to it's all about just giving them different looks and being able to adjust off of what they give you and making sure that we don't let them get the run game and the pass game going. Because if you allow them to run the football and then throw the ball, then it's going to be a very long day out there.
In the middle, Ed.
Coach, what's the best quality of Bryce Petty of Baylor? What's the best thing he does, in your opinion?
Well, he's the leader of that team, and the thing he does, like I was saying earlier, he released the ball, and he hasn't taken any sacks, but you just let him. He's just so headed. He knows exactly where to put it. It's amazing to watch them because you can watch the one side, the receivers do nothing. They'll run off the ball and stop, and then they're working to the front side, and it's almost like stop us because here's the ball is coming over here. Now we're just seeing if you're good enough to go cover us and stop us to that side. And he releases the ball out there, and it's a big gain. Whereas these two guys is kind of standing. Then next time it's their turn. So these guys, you rest this play. Now we're going to throw it over here. So it's not hard.
Does he remind you of any quarterback you faced in the past?
You know what? He kind of reminds me when I was at Florida, and I was telling Vance, kind of remind me of Danny Warfel, just how smart he is and where he places the ball, doesn't make mistakes with the football, and just runs that offense. It kind of reminds me a lot of Danny.
On the left, center.
Charlie, two questions. Number one, is their defense being overshadowed by how great their offense is with the points? And number two, is your offense capable of taking the air out of the ball and trying to keep those guys off the field?
Well, if you look at them defensively, I think they're ranked very high with sacks. So they're playing very well on defense, and I think it's been what their Achilles heel in the past, where they haven't been able to match it, but they're matching it very well right now. They're playing pretty good defense. And then with us being able to take their out of the ball, it's all about it. When we get scoring opportunities, we're going to have to score with the football too. Because we know we're going to have to score some points. Because I think this team is averaging around 50 points a game, 600 yards of offense. So we're going to have to generate some points in order to even stay in the game.
On your right, Anwar.
Hey, Coach. Against Kansas, I think your offense produced 7 rushing yards in the second half. Can you guys get into a track meet at this point with Baylor if you need to?
No, and well, we can't get into a track meet. We know that as a staff. There's no way we can't generate the points to get into a track meet with Baylor at all. Because, like I said, we can't allow them to just take the ball and go driving and score within 2 minutes, and then we come back over and we just. I was watching. They was playing someone, I can't remember exactly the team, but you look at the scoreboard and the Baylor scores, and then they get the ball back, and only a minute and 10 seconds goes off the clock with the other offense, with the opposing team's offense, and then they go down and they score again. That's like, ooh, then that's going to be for a really long day. And then that's why you can see why they get the scores that they get on people, because you can't match it.
On your left, Chip.
Charlie, do you, when it comes to the offense, is it the offense you want to run, or do you let Sean and Joe decide what they want to run?
Yeah, the offense, that's their offense, and I mean, it's everyone's offense. It's not just like it's Sean and Joe's and mine. I mean, we all sat down. So the issue is not just what we're running, it's the personnel that we have right now to run the offense that we're running.
Over here, Sean.
Coach, you mentioned chunk yardage for Baylor. Is that the chunk yardage you're talking about, to pull the linebackers and safeties out to work your own running game? How do you get to that?
Yeah, we're going to have to generate chunk yardage, and that's just got to come from, can we protect the quarterback to get the ball released down the field to get those big yardage plays, and then can guys break tackles? Even with Baylor, they'll throw some up over your head, but you'll watch your wide receiver catch the ball, and then all of a sudden, he'll catch an outside and then cut the ball back across the green, and now he's off and running, and nobody's going to run him down. So that creates big chunk yardage for them, because it's not where, it's where they just rear back and throw the ball 80 yards down the field. It's nothing like that. It may be a 15-yard outcut, then all of a sudden a missed tackle, and it's off and running, and not many people are catching them.
In the middle, John.
Coach, Baylor's done what they're supposed to do against the teams they've played. Do you feel like it helps you guys with the level of competition you've played, BYU, UCLA's?
I don't think that comes into play at all, because still at the end of the day they're running their offense, and their defense is playing well, and it's all about just playing to your level of competition, where they're not playing down to their level of competition. You think about it, when they play a team, they're going to blow them out, and they don't care who they're playing.
On the left, Mike.
Charlie, the stuff that didn't work on Saturday, the speed option in particular, do you reevaluate that and kind of go back to the drawing board?
Well, what happened with the speed is it's all about getting it checked to the right side, because you like to run it into pressure. And one time we ran it away from the pressure, and then they're standing there with two guys to the outside, so you're not going to have success. If you run into the pressure, then you have, if the guy takes a quarterback and he pitches it, then you have a chance to go off and run. And so you always have a chance to reevaluate and look at it on tape and see what we could have done better.
Middle, Brian.
Charlie, do you think that these types of offenses, when they get their pace going, do they show tendencies? Do they show repeatable things that y'all can either take advantage of or take chances and try to jump routes, things like that?
No, what you have to do is you're going to have to get lined up, Brian, and just make sure that you're lined up and not give them anything. Because what happens a lot of times with these type of offenses, if they have success, they're going to come. You're going to see that same play again. So if it's a 20-yarder, the next play you're going to get the same play. So if you don't stop it, then you're going to get it again. So it's all about us just getting lined up on defense and not giving up those plays. Making sure that, hey guys, we have to be smart about how we play.
On the left, Alex.
Coach, just to clarify from earlier, I know I asked about Harrison and DeJay, but have you made a decision as to, you said you were going to be speaking with them this week. Have you already made a decision as to they're not playing this week, or is that still to be decided?
No, it's still to be decided. I have not made that decision.
The second question would be, would you have ever thought coming into the first conference game that Texas goes on the road, gets a shutout 23-0, should have been 30-0 without the fumbled snap, that you come back home to a bunch of questions about the offense, and people are talking about how you won the game in a shutout?
No, because what happens, I think that because of the opponent that we're playing, we're trying to compare the two, which is so hard to compare because of what they have and what we have. But it's not uncommon.
In the middle, Joaquin.
Coach, nobody's denying that Baylor's played subpar competition so far. They had their closest game this week against Iowa State, knowing you guys will have the best athletes they've seen so far. Does that give you guys some hope there?
I hope it give us a little hope. I don't know how much, 14 points, but no, it's just going to come down to, we have to go play, and we have to go play well, and we know what we're playing against, so it's all about us playing well. I look at last year, and I think at halftime we go in, the scores 3-3, and then we end up, they throw a slant route, 2 slants for a touchdown, then we throw a pick 6 for a touchdown, then all of a sudden the game it's over with. And that's the type of plays that we can't give up, where it's a slant, a touchdown, then another slant, a touchdown, then we turn the ball over, and you got to just play smart football. And it's almost like you like to say, hey, can we not turn it over? Can we just make sure that we move the ball and just keep it away from them?
On your left, Chip.
Charlie, 2 questions. One, can you talk about the decision to go punt return as opposed to punt block, and then could you see yourself running the up-tempo, spread principles and always have the ability to go 2 tight and 2 back and pound?
Well, the first one with the punt return question is that, last week we had tried to block the punt. We ended up with 2 penalties. But we thought that we could return the punts, and because what they were doing is we felt like the middle of the field, because with their punt protection, how they just covered to the outside and they left the middle of the field wide open. So I said, if we just wall them to the outside and get Shipley down the middle, then we're going to get big yardage there. And then when you talk about up-tempo, we mix it in some with our offense. We'll mix in some up-tempo. It's not that we're just force-led where we just say, hey, we're an up-tempo team, because it just depends on what you have and everyone's philosophy.
In the middle, Roger.
Charlie, I'm sure we'll get back to Baylor's offense and your offense, but what kind of input was Commissioner Goodell looking from you with your meeting yesterday?
Well, I said, and I told Brian, I know he asked me that question on Saturday, was meeting with him, did not have a scheduled meeting with him at all. I know Troy Vincent, and I was in the office, so Troy called me on yesterday and said, you're in the office, and I said, yeah. I didn't even know that he was even coming here. There was a lady that, because of this, I think the Center for Violence Against Women, there's a lady in Florida that ran the center in Louisville, and she the one had called me and told me he was going to come on that day. And would I have a chance? I think he may have spoken here Saturday night. I said, no, I have a game on Saturday. I don't think I'll be back for that game. But they stopped by yesterday, and it was just all about what we talked about, just trying to build a relationship with the college coaches, and just talked about just dealing with young people and just trying to make sure that we help them, and all about character and picking the right people, and then just how do we deal with some of the issues that we're dealing with right now on this level.
In the back.
Charlie, back to the football. We can't even really compare Kansas and Baylor. We've kind of explained how different they are as teams. But what did you see your team do against Kansas that you think can even translate and really, I guess, maximize your guys' success against Baylor on Saturday?
Well, it's just, if you look at us on defense, we're going to have to get a line on defense, and we're just going to make sure that we try not to give up the big play. And then offensively, we're going to have to move the ball. And it's so important on offense that we have to win on first down, and so that we don't get behind the chain, so that when we get into a third down situation, because they're so good on rushing the passer. I think they have 18 sacks, that we don't put that burden on our offensive line where they got to go and block the real good outside rushers that they have. But it's got to be a total team effort. We're going to have to play well on offense. We're going to have to play well on defense and special teams. This is one of those games where fundamentals and technique really come into play, and just playing smart, just being smart as a football team.
On your right, Max.
Charlie, when you took the job, is this one of those challenges, one of these kind of games that excited you about playing in the Big 12, being a defensive guy?
Well, I didn't think that I would have a UCLA, then I take Kansas, then I would go Baylor, then I have Oklahoma the following week. I think I'm going to have the same questions next week. But, no, it is. But it's what this program is all about, and it's why you're here. And we have a big-time program ourselves.
In the back, Chris.
As a defensive-minded coach, though, are these high-tempo offenses ones that you like to go against, or with the numbers that Baylor's putting up, does it just kind of keep you up at night?
Well, it's going to keep us up at night trying to figure out a way to stop it, but it's a challenge, but it's a challenge for our team too, and our players. They know what Baylor's all about. They played against them each and every year. I know, but they understand just the focus, the preparation and focus has to be there this week.
Coach, seeing Teddy Bridgewater lead that team to victory yesterday, How proud of him were you, and did you get a chance to see that game at all?
I didn't see much of it. I spoke to Teddy last night around 10 o'clock, and he was very happy, I think. Then he said, well, Coach, I got to play on Thursday. I think they play, Green Bay on Thursday. So he said he's got to bounce back. But just to see him have the success he had. And then, I thought about last season when everybody kept saying he's dropping. But he's right where he wanted to be because he's one of those guys like to play at underdog role.
On your right, Anwar.
Hey, Coach, it's kind of off topic for a second. 9 months into the program, can you tell me how you feel like in-state recruiting is going for you, and do you feel like you guys are gaining any momentum in that area?
Well, the thing about in-state recruiting, there's a lot of players that have not made a decision yet, and so we're right where we need to be. It's just that we need to close out some guys, and that's going to happen a lot sooner than later. So, with the in-state recruiting, we just have to continue to recruit, and we're going to recruit. We recruit each and every day, and that won't ever change because in order to change this program, we have to get us some top players in here.
On your left, Chip.
Charlie, can you just talk about your offensive philosophy as a head coach? You obviously worked with Spurrier, you worked with Urban. What, ideally is a Charlie Strong offense?
Well, Chip, when you look at offense, and you talk to any coach, it's probably the first thing you want to try to do is establish the run game because you're knowing this. If I get the run game going, then I'm gonna always have an opportunity because it's gonna enable me to throw the ball. But whatever it may be, because some coaches they want to set up they'll throw the ball to set up the run, or they'll run the ball to set up the pass. And it just depends on what you have and what you're working with right now. I think back last year when Arkansas, when Bielema took that job, and everybody kept saying in Arkansas what he couldn't do. And now you look at him this year. I mean, he's rushing the ball, and at Boston College is rushing the ball. So it just depends on your players and your personnel. And not so much we could do what we were doing, but like I said, when you lose Espinosa, then you lose your starting quarterback in Ash, and Tyrone is playing very well right now for the position that he's been placed in. And we're still, we're going to get better on offense. We're still 4 games into this season.
In the middle, John.
Besides telling you guys we got to play well, we got to play better, what else do you say to them to make them really believe that they can get this done this week?
Well, John, I don't really have to say much because I think that they have a lot of respect for Baylor, and they played them each and every year. I mean, you look at some of our guys who's been here 4 or 5 years, they understand how important this game is and where it is. And it's one of those, like yesterday, we had a chance to, go out and just loosen up some. And you can just tell when you play teams like the Baylors, it's just a totally different vibe from the players. It's not as much joking around, and it's because they understand, if you don't play well, you can get totally embarrassed out there too.
On your left, Mike.
Charlie, to your point about the rebuild offensive line, you have 2 elite running backs in Gray and Brown that aren't putting up yards. How do you evaluate them? Do they need to do a better job? And is it difficult being able to tell if they're doing a good job when the holes aren't there?
Well, it's just so hard for those 2 right now because it's about putting a body on someone, and we're not always getting a body on someone. So it's so tough to really evaluate those 2 running backs. And I know they may get frustrated at times, but, we are where we are right now. And that offensive line is going to have to continue to develop each and every game and just get better and better.
The middle, Brian.
Charlie, I think it's been 3 weeks since we were talking about, what happened after BYU and our guys getting it and all that type of stuff. I mean, now that more time has passed, have you seen any changes in locker room leadership or seniors stepping up or all the things that were missing early in the month?
Well, you was go back to UCLA game. They came out, and it's all about guys just playing hard, and that one burned. So when you get a game that really burned you like that one burned, then you can say they're really getting it now. Then to lose that one, then to go through an open week and bounce back against Kansas and go shut them out. This is going to be a good one for us. Now we're coming back home where we were embarrassed the last time, and this will be a really good test for us.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about the Fox position and about how it seems like it's sort of changed a little bit coming into Big 12 play with the personnel and also the way the way that the players aligned and different things that you're doing with the player. Can you just kind of talk a little bit about that position and also talk about Caleb Blewett and Shiro Davis and how they kind of fit into different ways that position's used?
Well, when he's talking about the Fox position, it's an outside linebacker, really, and it's a stand-up guy, and you can rush him or you can drop him into pass coverage. And Blewett's an unbelievable athlete, and he's one of those guys who can actually rush when we need him to rush, and then he can cover. Because what happens at that position is they try to get a one-on-one matchup, and that's because we zone blitz a lot. And so when we zone blitz, we had to drop Blewett into coverage. And so people are running wheel routes, and you say, and what I mean by wheel routes, the back's coming out of the backfield. And so they're trying to get the one-on-one matchup, and he's doing a really good job of handling it. But it's kind of a hybrid position, and guys that are really athletic and guys can put their hand down and go rush the passer, then they can stand up in coverage and drop. That's really what you're looking for. And you look at Blewett and Shiro doing a really good job.
Middle, Dennis.
Coach, I know your core values aren't for attention or for validation, but when the commissioner in the NFL comes to you and is interested in what you have to say, how did that hit you personally?
Well, it was big, and not that I try to make a big deal about it, because it was more about not so much our core values, but also just we just talked about just the character of just athletes, and I said to him, I said that what is happening in the NFL is that we're sending you some players too that questionable character, and I said that, and then you're giving them a lot of money. So it's just like anything else. If you give somebody who has bad character a lot of money, it just accentuates the problem even more. So now all of a sudden you got a guy with a lot of money and he's not making the right decisions. And we have to do a better job in college of just preparing these young men and doing a better job with their character and just teaching them how. And a lot of times, and I said that when a young man knows that you care about him and he can trust you, then you'll get a lot of things done with him. And I said that you have to develop a relationship. You have to. It doesn't matter at what level they are. They're all still looking for discipline, and you have to discipline players. They're looking for, because when you have 95% that are doing it right and there's 5% aren't, then they're looking at you like, what are you going to do about it? If we're going to continue to let this happen, then why even say what you're going to do and you don't even do it? Don't even talk about it.
On your left set.
Coach, you took a couple of deep shots with Tyrone, went deep. And almost hit on a couple big plays. Where do you see him as far as his development since he became the full-time guy? And also, how does that, taking the top off of defense, how can that help kind of slow down Baylor offensively?
Well, we're gonna look to we got to throw the ball deep, and I told one time he let the one go, and I told Marcus just run. I said because he's gonna outrun you. And I said, don't Marcus think he can run? He thought, I said, no, just run, because Tyrone's going to get the ball out there to you and just go get it. And then, we threw the one down the sideline to Petey on the outside lane. But anytime it's there and we feel like we can go and that our receivers are fast enough to run and go get it, we're going to lay it out there. And then but it's also that loosens up the DBs, because a lot of them, they're sitting down on routes because we're not being a threat. But when we get the threat and we get the ball down the field, and they were there Saturday. It's just a matter of Tyrone just staying in there and not. It's a lot of times a quarterback flush when they don't need a flush. You may take a hit, but just stand in there and let it go.
Time for two last ones. Bob in the middle.
How impressed have you been with what Jordan Hicks has been able to do this year after missing the last 2 years, basically, and how critical is he to what you're trying to do defensively this week?
Well, the second part of that, Bob, he is unbelievable. He's had an unbelievable year, and he's so critical because now with Jordan, I can look to him because he's going to get the defense lined up, and he's making plays for us. But the thing about him is just he's playing so hard. I mean, I look at, Saturday, he come running out of the game. I said, what's wrong? He said, I think I felt something. I said, oh, man, come on. Don't tell me that now, please. You cannot sit out. So I said, get to the trainer right away because you have to play. But no, but he wants to do well, but he's playing at that level also. And just to see him, I think he may have been Defensive Player of the Week, which is an honor that he really deserved, because it's just so fun to watch him right now.
Last one on your left, Jeff.
Charlie, can you talk about the tight end position? You've gotten a couple nice things from McFarland the last two games, and Swaim had a big catch. That position, and then also how much will it help your run game once you get Greg Daniels, once he kind of really gets going again?
Well, the tight end position is critical because we play with a lot of tight ends, and we do use the tight end, try to cut, just make sure, because people are bringing so much pressure off the edge that, you put that tight end in that position that he can block the edge rusher and not allow it to come. But Swain, you look at McFarland catching another ball. Tyrone did a great job on that. The pressure was coming right at him, just threw the ball back in the end zone, and then Matt comes down with the catch. But getting Greg Daniels back really helps us. because now with back you have 4 tight ends that you can move around because we're in and out of different sets and just different personnel groupings, just trying to mix it up on offense.
Thank you, Coach.
All righty, thank you.